I noticed that you're really like good on TV. So it's not your first time doing this. You were on Top Chef, you were on Iron Chef.
Yep.
How was your experience with all that?
I mean, pretty crazy experiences. Two totally different worlds. I mean, Iron Chef is exactly, what it is. It's 1 hour, cook as fast as you
Literally
can.
1 hour.
Literally 1 hour. There's no breaks, there's no TV magic in that. There's 100% go time.
How do you do that with people like trying to interview you and talk to you? Like,
it's probably the most frustrating part.
Yeah.
I feel like they wait until you're in the middle of like
a
the
very
most
complicated
thing,
like,
and then it's gonna come up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
With Top Chef, you guys were like sequestered, right?
Yeah.
No TV, no phone, no internet.
No newspapers. Yeah. We couldn't even have watches because they didn't want us to know what time it was.
Really?
You never knew what you were doing next. You never knew what the next day's challenge was, what time it was going to start. They always wanted to catch you off guard. They always wanted to catch you in bed.
Because I saw in some of the episodes, it was 5 in the morning, they're waking you guys up to go do something.
Or you'll be sleeping, you wake up with a camera, and the camera guys will just be really quiet and just wait. And they've sat there for 30 minutes just creeping just with your face over. It was pretty ridiculous, but it was cool. It was one of the greatest things, that I've done, but it was pretty cool. I'm Justin Sutherland, chef here in the Twin Cities, but also involved in various aspects of community diversity, and really just being a lifestyle brand here in the Midwest. Yeah, I mean, Handsome Hog is the first restaurant that I've owned personally. It was the first restaurant that I owned, so that's kind of my cornerstone namesake. Since then, I've been involved with a dozen or so restaurant openings in different capacities. Currently operating here in the Twin Cities. We have Chickpea Hummus Bar and Obachan Chicken and Noodles, which are some counter service, more fast casual restaurants. Just reopened at the Gnome Gastropub in St. Paul, Pearl and the Thief. We have Elote's Kitchen opening here next week, as well as a handful of other restaurants that are currently on hold due to the current times, but will slowly be rolling out. The food scene in Minneapolis, or in the Twin Cities in general, has evolved quite a bit over the course of the last 10 years. Definitely changing a lot for the positive. I mean, you think 15, 20 years ago, our idea of a nice night out was probably Olive Garden and Red Lobster. So being able to be a part of the the movement that's kind of changed us into more of a food-focused city has been great. At the same time, there's been their challenges because a lot of it has been new. So I think breaking into what was originally considered as kind of that good old boys of chefs and restaurateurs that were kind of part of this club, that really isn't the case anymore. We have a very, very tight-knit group of restaurant people. I think everybody takes care of each other, collaborates well with each other, and is constantly growing. So it's been a good industry to work in the city. Obviously, I think in any industries that people of color and women and anything are breaking into, there's their obvious challenges. In the Midwest, nothing as blatant and in your face that stops you. But hindsight, now being where I'm at and looking at some of the hurdles that I went over and realizing, oh wow, those were some specifically directed problems that were directed at me. So yes and no. I think it's if you understand the area and you know where you want to be, you understand the challenges, and you're a person that can push through and persevere. I mean, there's definitely opportunities, but you also have to be aware of your surroundings and know what those struggles are going to. I've never been more hopeful, for Minneapolis and St. Paul. It's obviously a very difficult and trying and emotionally draining time, on all of us. But the fact that what's happening, the fact that what's happening is happening, the fact that it's happening here, and the immense positive response from the community makes me extremely hopeful. The turnaround in females and LGBTQ community and people of color. I mean, just really standing up and saying what they want, making demands, and it being for the most part, receptive by the community. I think we have a long road ahead of us, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and I am happy that it's happening here because I think, we are the people to be the forefront. It's an extremely difficult time, probably the most difficult time in the history of restaurants right now, especially for, well, I mean, at first I would say especially for the single operator, mom and pop shops, but even the big chains and the big restaurant groups are going down. So, I mean, it's extremely difficult, especially for, servers, bartenders, people that rely on busy restaurants to feed them. So, we've definitely seen positive. I mean, the restaurant community has come together stronger than ever. I mean, a lot of funds put together to make sure people are taken care of. I don't know many other places that where the second this tragedy kind of hit our industry, and service industry being probably one of the hardest hit industries, immediately everybody came together and tried to figure out how they could help each other and how we would get through this. So. There's no sugarcoating it that times are horrible, but people are definitely coming together to make sure, at least everybody eats, and that there's some sort of something on the horizon. But I don't know. I don't see it getting much better anytime soon. And right away, within weeks of the restaurant shutdown, myself and a group of other restaurateurs and people in other industries got together and put our heads together to figure out how we could help, and founded the North Stands. Which essentially just raises money to, put money in the pockets of out of work service industry workers, with a great response. I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars were donated, from individuals donating $1 to corporations donating $20,000. So, within 30 days of this starting, we were able to mail out hundreds of checks, no questions asked, directly to people who were out of work and unemployed due to COVID, and it continues to thrive and go on. So yeah, it's been a great experience, and I'm glad we could do something to give back. I mean, I love St. Paul. I love Minneapolis, but I love St. Paul. It's like a neighborhood to big city. It's our state capital. It's got a lot of character, a lot of history in the buildings, and just a lot of that kind of neighborhood feel that I think you miss in some places in Minneapolis. It's just a lot of built-in tradition and people, and it's just, you can be in the heart of downtown and still kind of feel that neighborhood vibe. And it's close enough that you can still always go to Minneapolis. I think the biggest challenge that I had to overcome was probably myself and my thought or understanding of how things needed to be done. Like I alluded to earlier, I felt like I always kind of needed a seat at this, prearranged table with these people and follow these conventional steps to get to where I was. And I had never really followed that path. I wasn't friends with these people. I wasn't part of this club. And it just always felt like there was a ceiling that, stopped me from progressing any farther, until I realized that I didn't want to be a part of that club. And then the day I decided I was going to build my own table and, not worry about theirs, it's kind of when the doors opened. And now, rather than trying to be a part of somebody else's something, I've built my own table and invited a lot of people to it, and we are, continuing to move forward. Iron Chef was the first. I still don't even know how they found me or how they got my phone number. I had just opened Handsome Hog and was, not very known. I mean, in my circles, but got a phone call from Food Network, and they had said they'd been following me and asked if I wanted to compete. So that was my first time in any sort of national recognition or competition. It was insane. I mean, it was a show I grew up watching with my grandma since I was, a little kid. So just, walking into Kitchen Stadium was extremely humbling and one of the most exciting things I've ever done. And then winning it was pretty crazy. And that's opened doors for Top Chef. Immediately got a call for that after the Iron Chef win, and that was probably the greatest thing I'd never do again. But like I said, it was a very cool experience. I think it did a lot for my restaurant's brand and whatnot personally, and hopefully shed a positive light on the food scene of the Twin Cities as well. I love it here. It's cliche and people say it all the time, but the people here are really great. And it may not be as boisterous or loud or up in your face and obvious as some other big cities, but if you kind of take your time, explore the neighborhoods, talk to people, there really is so much to do, from music to cultural events to sports to just getting outside and taking an awesome walk. Our parks and are amazing and second to none in most cities, because I've been and lived in most of them. So I think sometimes it's a little under the radar and it's not as not as bright lights and in your face, but it pretty much has all the things you want, and those things are genuine. They don't seem forced, they don't seem fake. People really care about what they do here.